generation of talk radio. It's time for politics, pop culture, and proud pro-American conservatism. Strap yourselves in. Grab your coffee. It's time for the Chris Salcedo Show on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
Morning, everybody. Glad you've tuned in. Thursday on the voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV, the Chris Salcedo Show. Welcome you folks on the Vida television network. Glad you have tuned in. We have a lot to talk about today on the program, not least of which Donald Trump. Yesterday, we told you guys about how the president of the United States had congratulated Vladimir Putin on his election. And we articulated why it's not necessary to congratulate a guy winning an election that he was never going to lose because it was fixed. It was rigged. If anybody ought to know about rigged elections, this president ought to know about it. The president has since said some things that I'm sorry, I just don't believe. I don't buy. I understand strategic partnership, but I don't understand giving away the store and giving rhetorical support to a guy who's doing what he's doing to not only his own people, but to other people. Responsible for the deaths of so many people. Deaths in Syria, deaths in his own country, deaths in Ukraine. It's all Vladimir Putin and then causing chaos and fomenting aggression all over the globe. If it's in America's best interest, Vladimir Putin is saying, hey, how can I screw with this? So that I don't understand why Donald Trump is doing what he's doing unless he really finds a kindred spirit in Vladimir Putin. I don't. This conservative, well, let me just say it this way. Communists are terrible human beings. Communists are not to be trusted. Communists are liars. Communists are inhuman. Communists throughout our history, not only the United States history, but the history of the world, have been responsible for the death of countless millions. I do not trust communists, nor do I think you should. And I certainly would never support an American president supporting a communist dictator thug like Vladimir Putin. Sorry. Mr. Trump, I understand the strategic partnerships we have forged with Russia, but they're disintegrating fast. And it's not by what we in America have done. It's courtesy of the Russians. They are the ones who are power hungry. They are the ones who seek to diminish us instead of partner with us. I'm sorry. There is no way you're going to convince me that Russia under Vladimir Putin is at all our friend. So, at any rate, we'll get into what the president had to say coming up in short order. I wanted to read the latest on the Austin bombing. There I go again. We're so used to saying Austin bombing or Boston bombing, and then it only supplants the local bombings that we have had. The death of the Austin bomber brought some relief to the capital of Texas. But as authorities dig through the evidence, even they acknowledge that the motive is a mystery. There was the equivalent, many thought, of a manifesto. You know, a lot of these whack jobs leave a manifesto. Here's why I did what I did. And there was a 25-minute, basically, confession from the bomber. Oh, by the way, I'm not using the bomber's name. Some lefty said of me yesterday, I noticed you're not using the bomber's name. Would you do the same if he were Muslim? And I'm thinking to myself, really? If the Muslim was born in the United States and was an American citizen and was doing, you're absolutely right. I wouldn't want to give him his 15 minutes of fame. If he came in from outside of the country, had infiltrated across, the southern border, then yeah, I probably would. And identify the country of origin and also tattoo Mexico. But I just notice what the left-wingers focus on. Oh, it's all my fault because I don't want to give this guy his 15 minutes. One more thing about this bomber. The picture that you've all seen, his graduation picture that everybody's, even Fox is using it. It's a few years old. The way the guy actually looked on his day-to-day was quite different. 23-year-old individual. Confession and killed himself in a final explosion, ending a wave of package bombings that terrorized Austin for weeks. But none of the evidence the investigators have gathered has yet to give police any clues as to the motive why the 23-year-old man set out on a nearly month-long spree of violence. It is the outcry of a very challenged young man talking about challenges in his life that led him to this point. According to Austin Police Chief Brian Manley, I know everybody is interested in the motive and understanding why, and we're never going to be able to put a rationale behind these acts. We may never know. 25-minute recording, and basically what he admitted to doing everything that we all suspect that he did. So, that's interesting. Right now on Fox News, Greg Barrett, Katy Independent School District, accused of being a bully. What is that about? Hold on a minute. Let me see if I have not heard. Wait a minute. I don't know about this. I don't know. Let me see if I can find. I got to see what this is all about, because what I suspect is going on here is this guy told this kid, let me just make a prediction. Now, it could very well be that he's an actual bully. I'm sure that could actually be the case. I'm going to read the transcript and I'll get you guys a soundbite after I get into the break. Where'd it go? Okay, here we go. The amazing moment. Try to connection between these figures. John Brown winds up. Okay, well, maybe I'm not going to see it. All right, I'll have to do this in the break, folks. That just caught my eye. Katie caught my eye, superintendent, and bullying a student. Here's what I think happened. A student, an adult teacher finally behaved like an adult, and a student got offended. So we'll see what that's all about. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. Starting off the show with a phone call this morning. Hood, good morning. Hello, Hood. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, was curious. Are you seeing how Donald Trump is now supporting this omnibus bill?
Yeah, I did, and I've got that coming up too.
Donald Trump will sign his name to his own death warrant. This is another. The debt is skyrocketing, and if this was Barack Obama doing this, Sean Hannity would be having an aneurysm right now. But Sean Hannity is busy buying a new pair of knee pads that say "I love Donald Trump."
Well, I came out yesterday. I don't know about what Hannity's doing, but I came out yesterday and basically said that both political parties have shook hands and thrown the American people under the omnibus again.
Well, let's. I don't know if you saw where Ralph Peters.
Yes, I did.
Is leaving Fox because Fox is becoming a MSNBC.
As a matter of fact, I talked to Colonel Peters 2 nights ago after the announcement came out. I told him that he'd be coming on our program to do some military analysis, and I wanted to make sure that he knew he was welcome here.
And finally, yes, what Donald. Okay, it was stupid. McMaster's needs to be fired, number one, for having this memo leaked. Yes. He does not deserve his 4-star. But number two,
well, hold on. We got to tell We got to tell folks what you're talking about, folks. Yesterday we railed on Donald Trump for his congratulations of Vladimir Putin in the election, and we found out that his own people inside of the national security apparatus gave him a readout, a memo before the phone call, and wrote in big bold letters, "Do not congratulate," and that information leaked out. The fact that memo existed, and of course, the president is furious.
And Donald Trump is a buffoon. Let's I'm pretty certain Sean Hannity railed against Obama when Obama congratulated the.
Why are you coming onto this program and bashing on Sean Hannity for?
Because
Sean Hannity's a talk show host.
I know, but he is one of these guys who thinks that Donald Trump can do no wrong, and Trump is a buffoon. Did Ronald Reagan ever say congratulations, Mr. Gorbachev, on winning the election?
No.
Hell no.
Winston Churchill congratulated Stalin on his birthday.
Yeah, I know.
Are you going to say Winston Churchill was a buffoon?
Yeah, for that he damn sure was.
Well, exactly. See, exactly what you just said. For that, perhaps he was. But again, when you say that Donald Trump is a buffoon, maybe he's buffoonish in the way he regards the Russian dictator. I'll go with that. But there's a lot of other good things that he's doing that I can support, and I will. And I've said this, Hood, that where Donald Trump's populism or whatever he governs himself with meets my conservatism, I'm going to support him.
And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Donald Trump's popularity come Sunday at 6:00. When all those people watch Stormy Daniels. I
don't care. Do you care? Do you care what he did when he was a Democrat? Do you care what he did back in 2006 when George W. Bush was president? Let me ask you, do you care?
Did we care when Bill Clinton was raping those women before he became president?
Are you alleging that there was a rape that was done here? I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know there was.
Wait.
I don't know there's a crime done here. Do you?
When Bill Clinton was having his affairs,
I didn't care.
Did we care back then?
No, didn't care. The only thing I cared about is the chief law enforcement officer of the land was lying under oath, and he's not supposed to do that. When you're under oath, you're supposed to tell the truth. I only worried about the violation of law of Bill Clinton, not the fact that who he was cheating on as far as Hillary Clinton is concerned.
Well, maybe you didn't, but a lot of Americans did, and this makes the Republicans look like hypocrites.
I don't care whether you know what. I don't care about the Republicans. I'm not a Republican. I don't care about the Republicans.
The conservatives who voted for him.
No, it doesn't.
Donald Trump.
No, it doesn't.
Trump,
it doesn't make
it
doesn't make any conservative look bad. My values have not changed. Your values have not changed. Other conservatives' values have not changed. I'll support this president, and many people have called up this program saying the same thing. We'll support this president when he meets our values. And when he doesn't, guess what? We're gonna decry it. Just like I'm gonna blast the Republicans for this omnibus debacle today. I'm gonna blast the president for what he said about Vladimir Putin. I think he's insane to think that we can have a relationship with Vladimir Putin because Vladimir Putin is a thug.
And this omnibus bill hardly has any money in it for the wall. For 33 miles.
There is
Donald Trump.
There's nothing in
Donald Trump would sign his own death warrant just so he can say, "I signed something."
Well, if he signs this omnibus, he may. If he signs this omnibus, I guarantee you the Republicans will lose the majority in 2018. If the Republicans put this omnibus up, it's over. Which I think is the plan anyway, Hood. I think that the Republicans want to lose to get out of power, to have Donald Trump go through impeachment, have the Senate block it, just like they did with Clinton. There's some idiot up on Capitol Hill in the Republican establishment who thinks this is poetry, this is poetic justice. And you know what? The Republicans are walking lockstep, and you're saying that Donald Trump may be signing his own or would sign his own death warrant. I think the GOP is doing just that. Be right back. The Chris Salcedo Show on the Voice of Texas. Look, I don't know how else to explain this to everybody. Just because Donald Trump disappoints me on one particular topic or another doesn't mean I'm going to dismiss his entire presidency. President Obama, for example, there was a couple of things I can remember that he did right. And then he immediately undid. The bolstering of troop levels in Afghanistan, for one. I supported him on that. That was at the beginning of his occupation of the Oval Office. And then after that, he gave a date certain for withdrawal and undid all of it. From that point on, you know what? I can't think of really anything that the president did that was good. Obama, Resident Obama. Now, when it comes to Trump, there's plenty of good going on. What drives me nuts is when he seeks to undo that good by doing crazy stuff, like sidling up to Vladimir Putin. I mean, it makes him look weak. I'm sorry, it just does. But Vladimir Putin, his country's economy is smaller than the state of Texas. His country is a nuclear power. Yes, it has a big military, but he's a communist. How much? I mean, seriously, Trump, what kind of respect can you have for a flipping communist? I have zero respect for communists, and that's Xi Jinping as well. The dictator for life over in China. And Donald Trump ought to, as the American president, needs to understand the responsibility and the burden that comes with that. Resident Obama was clueless about this. Trump needs to go to school right away and understand this. About Katie, this is raw audio I just pulled down from Fox. They were talking about this story. Let me pull it up, and we'll hear what the folks at Fox and Friends had to say about what's going on in Katy.
Killed them. The police union says the officers' families never had the chance to object his release. A man constantly bullied as a kid finally gets a chance to confront one of his tormentors 3 decades later.
Unbelievably bullied. One day at lunch, I had my head shoved in the urinal. I had nobody. Lance, you were the one that shoved my head in the urinal.
Greg Barrett speaking out at a school board meeting in Texas. He claims he was teased for his last name, Gay. His accused bully is now the superintendent who denies the allegations.
You know, denies the allegations. Really? I mean, does anybody doubt that this is true? I'm just, in my opinion, look, we all did things when we were kids that were stupid, that didn't live up to our expectations. And the way, if your idea, superintendent, was to teach, you'd say, look, you know what, I did some things in my youth. Thank goodness I got straight. Thank goodness I had a mentor in my life. I want to be that to kids. And you know what, you have my sincere apology. You know, I can't take back. I would just pray that you wouldn't hold responsible the man who I am today for what the boy did. Doesn't that seem a little, I don't know. Russell, come on. I mean, why would you sit there? I deny the allegations. It's like you were a kid, for crying out loud. I see this. This is why everybody hates politics. And yes, the school board, the superintendent is political, unfortunately. That's why everybody hates politics. Nobody's
real. If he admitted and he apologized, if he just apologized, say, hey, I'm so sorry, you know, I regret it, I regret it, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you think anything would have changed for him?
For him, no. Everybody would say.
Do you think people would call for his ouster as superintendent?
No. I mean, and he's probably a lib, and even I, as a conservative, wouldn't do that. It's like you know what, being held responsible for what you did as a kid. I mean, I know there are a lot of progressive nutcases out there with that. Oh, you're a school board member. You're a bully. It's like, come on. Nobody with any sense would hold this guy responsible, and but he's thinking about the fringe. So that was just disappointing. Just disappointing. Is there any more to that story? Hold on. Let me see if Ainsley had anything more to say about that.
Take a look at your screen. This face right here is driving the internet bananas. A monkey that looks like a human.
No, I guess a monkey that looks like a human. Okay. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. Always fun over at Fox and Friends. Hello, Bill. Good morning. Welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show.
Good morning, Chris. How you doing this morning?
Doing well, sir. What's up?
I was going to talk about the thing about how the news media, gives so many details, like whether the Unabomber, what kind of bombs he used, or the thing at the Oklahoma City, or D.B. Cooper with that, the 727 plane thing back comes out open in flight, and all this other stuff. They give so many details, like how to commit the perfect thing. But
what details were given that you thought was a little out of bounds in the current bombing case?
Well, the current one, he went to Home Depot, he bought this, and he bought this, and I mean, now if somebody wants to get a copycat, hey, they can go to Home Depot or whatever place.
You know that there are videos that have been uploaded to YouTube that give detailed information on how to do this, and apparently his internet search patterns were very indicative of how he was learning to do this. He had no military training. He had no training whatsoever in the handling of explosives or ordnance. So what he learned about bomb making, he learned by researching it on the internet.
Did it himself. But the other thing I wanted to bring up is what you're just talking about, what we did as kids. And this is a guilt I have from high school. And I'm, graduated over 50 years ago.
Yeah.
In our school, we had the people in our school district that were mentally retarded. We called them. That's what they called them in those years.
Yeah, today
we would
mentally
we would mock
challenged.
them.
Yes.
And one guy, I'm not going to say his name, but he would come down his facial features because he had no control, on the stuff, and hands moved. And we would go down, mock at him. And there was another guy you didn't want to mock because he looked like a fullback. He'd throw you into the lockers. I mean, I'm serious. This guy, but we would mock him. And it was really, I look back, and that's the worst thing because these people couldn't help it. That for whatever reason they were born that way. We don't know why.
Bill, kids are cruel, and we have all done things that we're not proud of as kids. And when you're an adult, you should have the ability to say, you know what? I'm not proud of that. I would never sanction that today as an adult. Please don't hold the man responsible for what the boy did. Back in a minute, folks. Chris Salcedo's show on The Voice. Thanks, Bill. All right, so we're going to lead off this hour of the Chris Salcedo show with a question to all of you. Were you upset, or did you care, or did you support Donald Trump congratulating Vladimir Putin on his election win? We've been very clear. We said you don't congratulate left-wing extremists who rig elections. You don't congratulate them because they had nothing to lose, whether it be Hillary Clinton in her primary, whether it be Vladimir Putin in his fake election. That's been our stance. Now, the reason why we know, well, not the reason why we know that Donald Trump did this with Putin, but there's been an added element that people in Trump's inner circle said don't do it. They put out a memo in big, bold letters that said, do not congratulate. Now, this tells me a couple of things. First off, it says that Donald Trump, with his advisors close by, just can't say enough good things about the dictator of Russia. Don't congratulate him. They have to remind the president. Don't congratulate him. No, don't do that. We know you want to, but don't. That's troubling to me. I got to say, that's troubling to me. I don't trust Vladimir Putin. I don't particularly care for Vladimir Putin's type of politics, invading our allies' lands, making life tough for the United States. I don't support that. I don't tend to be supportive of enemies of the United States. And I don't think our president ought to be supporting enemies of the United States either. Just saying. I didn't like it when Barack Obama sidled up to enemies of the United States like Iran, like Cuba. I didn't like it very much. As a matter of fact, to Russia too, to North Korea. All of Obama's policies were geared at making life easier on our enemies. And I'm sorry, that's just not me. I've never been there, and I was hoping that this era of kissing our enemies' rear ends was over. But here comes Donald Trump with Russia's Vladimir Putin, who is, I'm sorry to say, an enemy of the United States. After several decades of successful partnership with Russia, Vladimir Putin gets in charge and it all goes to pot. It all goes away. It's not the United States' fault. This is all Vladimir Putin's fault. So there are two elements here. There's the congratulations, and then there's the leak. I got to tell you guys, the memo that he was given, the briefing that he was given, only a few eyes were on that memo. They at this point in the White House probably have a pretty good idea who the leaker is. And Marco Rubio, who is a lukewarm ally of the president, said, he wasn't really enamored with praising Putin's so-called victory, which wasn't a victory. It was a fix. It was a rigged election. Remember Donald Trump? A rigged election. Marco Rubio not happy about the comments, but equally, if not more, unhappy about the leaking happening around the president of the United States. Here he is on CNN.
No, I don't like he did it, but you know what I like even less? That there's somebody close to him leaking this stuff out. If you don't like the guy, quit. But to be this duplicitous and continue to leak things out, it's dangerous. And so I don't like what he did, but I really hate that there's someone in his inner circle that's willing to leak this stuff. And if you don't like working for the president, you should resign your job.
Yeah, I agree. If you can't get behind his agenda, like I said, for me, if I was working for President Trump and I was in this orbit of foreign policy toward Russia, and he kept on wanting to buddy up with a despot, kept on wanting to sidle up and get chummy with a guy a murderous thug, I probably would resign. The last thing I would do is undermine this president. I would just say, hey, I can't do it. Can't do it. Mr. President, I don't trust communists. Mr. President, I don't trust thuggish dictators. And I don't believe you should either, Mr. President. And then I'd leave. But I would not be leaking out classified information to embarrass my president. There's no way. This leak is at the highest levels, whoever did it. Then there's Brett Baer reading this response on Twitter from President Trump yesterday. And I can't disagree more vociferously with his comments. Here is Fox News Channel reading the tweet from Donald Trump. Listen to this.
The president tweeting, I called President Putin of Russia to congratulate him on his election victory.
Okay, first mistake. What are you congratulating him for? It was fixed. It was rigged. What do you congratulate? He didn't do anything. Now, I know how lefties believe in participation trophies. But Donald Trump, in your own life, have you ever been given a participation trophy? Haven't you had to battle and work for everything you got? Vladimir Putin didn't battle for that election win. Vladimir Putin intimidated and threatened his people for a sham election. I always laugh when I hear about Vladimir Putin's incredibly popular. Yeah, just as popular as Mao Zedong was. Just as popular as Joseph Stalin. Just as popular as Karl Marx.
In the past, Obama called him also. The fake news media is crazed because they wanted me to excoriate him. They are wrong. Getting along with Russia and others is a good thing, not a bad thing.
I have no problem with the United States getting along. But they must, look, Ronald Reagan got along with the Soviet Union. But he didn't give up our moral high ground to do so. He never once praised I shouldn't say never once. When the Russians started coming around and admitting that their communist empire was falling apart, Ronald Reagan, after the Soviet Union was on its knees, reached out his hand. Yeah. And he praised Mikhail Gorbachev for his vision. Now, about Gorbachev, you guys know how Putin regards Gorbachev? Putin is disgusted by Mikhail Gorbachev. Believe he gave in. Believe he gave in to the imperialistic West. Remember, don't forget, Vladimir Putin's a KGB guy. Big communist believer. And I don't know how savvy he is about economics, but Reagan knew a heck of a lot more about economics than Vladimir Putin did, because Reagan knew and understood that the United States economy could best the command economy of the Soviet Union, the communist economy. And Vladimir Putin is under the impression that Gorbachev had a choice as the entire communist state was collapsing around him. A little bit more from the president's tweet here from Brett Baer.
Bad thing. They can help solve problems with North Korea, Syria, Ukraine, ISIS, Iran, and even the coming arms race. Bush tried to get along but didn't have the smarts. Obama and Clinton tried but didn't have the energy or chemistry. Remember, reset, peace through strength.
Yeah, peace through strength. Look, I don't think peace through strength means what the president of the United States, Donald Trump, thinks it means. Peace through strength means standing up for being, it means America first, to be honest. Strongest military, strongest economy, and never giving up the moral high ground of looking at a communist dictator type government and saying, this isn't a real government. This is a sham. That's all part and parcel. I don't think Donald Trump has a sense of this. And all of the problems that Donald Trump just articulated, who's causing those problems? Oh, yeah, Russia can help us with this and this and this. I've got a newsflash, Mr. President. Russia's causing all of those problems. Russia is the main instigator for those problems. And they're doing so to harm the United States of America and bolster their own prowess and control in the world. So I don't know how President Trump can say on one hand, hey, America first, and the other hand say, oh, we need Russia, as Russia is just as, how do I put this? Just as much a danger to the United States as Al-Qaeda is. Just as much a danger as ISIS is to the United States. Now, Donald Trump, you're bombing the holy Hades out of ISIS. You probably should pivot to your other enemy, Vladimir Putin's Russia. Back in a minute, the Chris Salcedo Show on the Voice of Texas.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. As somebody who had top secret briefings, I had to leave my office when I was drug czar, go over, sit in the SCIF in the White House, old executive office building. I mean, there has to be a very few people, very small number of people sitting around that table and looking at these documents. So they have got to get to the bottom of this. Now, I believe there was an investigation started 6 months ago, a year ago, by, I think, Sessions or the Justice Department.
Yeah, how's that going? Yeah, how's that leak investigation going by Jeff Sessions? Yeah, I'm sure he'll get on it. Really. Yeah, there's a leak investigation. Whatever happened to that? 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSCV. There's two different issues here. I think that this leak on the president is despicable. I think it's underhanded. I think it's treasonous. I honestly do. I think it's treasonous. And because what's the purpose? We told the president not to, but he did it anyway. Really? If I like Michael Rubio's response, if you don't like it, get out. If you don't like the way the president's governing, get out. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. Do you support what Trump did, congratulating Putin and how he continues to want to sidle up to this dictator? And also, what do you think about the leaks? I think it's two different issues. Let's get out to Rich. Hello, Rich. Welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show. What say you?
Hey, Chris. How you doing?
Doing well, sir. Thanks.
I think you might be being a little bit just going over the top about what he said. It's not like he went up and high-fived him and chest bumped him. But whenever you have somebody that is a world power and you know they're going to be controlling that country for the next several years, wouldn't you rather have a working relationship so they might listen to more of what you say, opposed to having this toxic relationship where if you try to come to an agreement with something, then they're just going to, well, I don't like that guy anyway. So let's
examine that, because let's look throughout history. Jimmy Carter wanted to have a good relationship with the Soviet Union, so Jimmy Carter caved at every turn to anything the Soviet Union wanted, with this understanding he didn't want to ruffle any feathers, right? Kind of what you're saying. You want to have a good relationship with a world power, another nuclear power. Let's have a look at Barack Obama. Barack Obama had his lips firmly planted on Vladimir Putin's rear end his entire occupation of the Oval Office, and Vladimir Putin has been rampaging around this globe like a war criminal. He's been undermining U.S. interests, propping up our enemies, supplying chemical weapons for the Syrian regime to gas their own people. He's been killing our allies in Ukraine and stealing their land in Crimea. Then there was Ronald Reagan, who stood up and said, you know what? You're an evil empire. You're an evil empire. Look, this is not going to stop me from talking with you, but we're going to start off the conversation by defining who you are and why we here in the United States stand against the kind of people you are.
Well, do you believe that Trump has a little bit more backbone than Carter and Obama?
I've not seen it. I've not seen it.
Okay.
Now look, I'll say this, Rich, that behind the scenes, Donald Trump is doing a lot more to stand in Russia's way than Obama did, certainly, because Obama did not.
He's not opening his arms to any bad activity. I think it was more of an icebreaker, and it was just taken out of context, and everybody's wanting to say, "Hey, he's so happy that Putin has won the election." I think it was more of, an icebreaker, and it was just something else for people to get all bent out of shape about, is my opinion.
Well, and there could be some truth to that, to get them talking about this instead of other things that he's doing. And again, the behind the scenes stuff, undermining his energy economy, the president's doing, dropping Moab bombs on their Syrian allies. I mean, Rich, there is, the rhetoric in front of the camera does not match what's going on behind the scenes. I just wish the rhetoric in front of the camera did match that. That being said, there was also something as equally vacuous that was done during the Obama era, this stupid reset thing. And that there was much ballyhooed and, it was the greatest thing. And it shows how sophisticated Barack Obama was. And all it was a big kiss his butt job from the previous administration. And I don't understand. Right. And I don't understand, Rich, why America has to have the posture of, it's so wonderful, it's so great to see Vladimir Putin win, when I think it's bad for the world, and why the president of the United States, who's probably one of the more conservative in a long time that we have seen, why he can't come out and say that. I don't get it.
I just feel like he's done enough business ventures and having to compete so much that he's realized that maybe having a better relationship will get more of a compromise on things with issues, opposed to having to go in there and just wreck shop. And I think that's maybe what he's trying to go for.
And I would ask, Rich, knowing the kind of guy Vladimir Putin is, do you think that he responds to this kind of thing? Do you think that by stroking his ego, we're going to get more cooperation? Or do you think that Vladimir Putin gets up every day and figures out how he can screw with the United States of America?
Well, do you think that, I agree there, but do you think that this is Trump starting to interact as the president of the United States, and why not give it a try before you put the country at risk of something more serious? Give it a try. If it doesn't work, then hey, put your fist down on the table and you lay it out.
Well, I would rationalize, and Rich, I know exactly what you're saying, and I'm not being critical of what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that Barack, for the last 8 years, we kissed his rear end. I mean, if he's not come around yet, what makes you think he's going to come around for Trump?
Well, hey, it's all new. You know, Trump's a different guy, and
yeah, you know what?
Different ball game.
Well, it's America. It's still America, and it's still Russia, and Russia's still headed by this thug, and this thug still hates the United States of America, hates our people, wants to harm our people, and that's not changed. Thank you very much for the call, Rich. Robert, you're up next here on the Chris Salcedo Show. What say you?
Well, I kind of go along with Rich, and I also agree with the things you're saying. But we don't know what's going on in Trump's mind. I mean, he may be concerned about, pushing the red button to get nuclear missiles fired, and he knows Putin's got a lot of firepower, and nobody wants that to happen. But I think what we should focus on more is our economic stability and our out-of-control government spending, and push Trump not to sign these out-of-control bills that Congress is trying to pass to spend too much money. We got to focus on our economic stability.
That's coming, and Trump has signaled that he will sign this throwing of the American people under the omnibus again. Omnibus, omnibus.
Yeah. Well, I think that's more critical than whether or not he congratulated Trump or not.
Well, I think it's part and parcel. And I'm glad you made the connection, Robert, because I think that here is my belief that the president of the United States is getting railroaded by a communist dictator thug. And here comes Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer putting this crazy bill on his desk, and he's going to sign it.
Yeah,
he's going to sign it.
Well, that's a problem that we're going to have to deal with.
Yeah.
I think down the road it's really going to come back and haunt us. So.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate it. And we're going to get into that probably after the bottom of the hour. It's a risk playing the music. The last time I played Desmond's music, I went to him, and he wasn't there. Now, I had actually emailed him afterward and said, "Hey, where'd you go?" And he had a very good excuse. The Desmond heard only here on the AM 700 KSEV, the Voice of Texas. Sir, what's going on?
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning to you, sir.
I need to ask you a question.
Certainly.
What's the weather like on the top of your high horse?
Go ahead, explain yourself. Go ahead.
What? About the high horse?
Yes.
What? Well, that's what people do when they're about to go into battle. They get on their highest horse so they can charge down on the people.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So you have a problem with my criticism of the president?
No. You've got to, and I'm paraphrasing here. Isn't it something about the Lord does things in his public life that he personally deplores in his personal life?
Yes. I understand what you're saying there, but a lot of this isn't very complicated, Desmond. I mean, I got to be honest with you.
Okay.
We have as history as our guide. I mean, seriously, we have good results when we stand up to dictators and thugs. We have terrible results when we accommodate, acquiesce, and kiss their butts. I mean, it's kind of it's pretty well written. I mean, in your own former home country, you have the Neville Chamberlain approach, and then you have others who took a different stand. Do you understand where I'm going with that? I mean, there's a way to handle these types of people.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I think that the 1.3 trillion budget, or whatever they're going to call it,
omnibus,
will do more harm to this country than Putin will ever do.
I think you're right.
You know, you're always talking about the military.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the budget of the U.S. is versus the military budget of Russia is?
I'm sure we dwarf their military spending, and
we're
rightly so.
$770 billion.
In this new budget.
$70 billion. It's a tenth.
Well, no,
we're worried.
Well, no, look, and we also have a lot more responsibility as the world's lone superpower as well, Desmond. And I gotta be honest. Our military has been badly neglected. I don't mind the military spending. As a matter of fact, I believe we needed the military spending for the defense of the country. We've got young men and women dying in plane crashes and ship crashes because of lack of training, because there's no budget, because we had a leftist running this country for the last 8 years. So I recognize the money needed to be appropriated. The problem is we had to also pay off tons of these entitlement programs that do nothing but soak the American taxpayer. Back in a minute, the Chris Salcedo Show on The Voice. That. All right, folks, let's get to our one of our guests this morning, Mary Ramirez, who is a longtime contributor to the Chris Salcedo Show, joining me right now on Skype. How you doing, lady?
Doing good this morning, Chris. How are you down there in Texas? Beautiful, sunny Texas.
Beautiful, sunny Texas, and as Heather's there just told us, probably warming up a little bit as well. There is something that has caught my attention, and I know that has caught your attention. As a matter of fact, we said we were going to talk about this today. With all of the student walkouts, as this weekend, the kids, because we're supposed to believe that 15, 16, 17-year-olds planned these massive protests all by their little lonesome. They're going to be descending on the nation's capital, and that's why our elected leaders are hightailing it out of there. What did you find? This story out of California I found very interesting.
No, very interesting. And of course, this is a teacher out in California who was having an open dialogue with her students and suggested that, or posed this question: would the school give as much leeway to these students if they were walking out to protest something that kills astronomically more children than school shootings ever did and ever will? Mm-hmm. And of course, that's abortion. And she was put on leave for that. She was put on leave for suggesting that killing children.
I don't want to gloss over that. For folks, what you understand, because we're told these protests are for the lives of the children, right, Mary?
Because we care.
Because we care about the lives of the children. So this teacher says is an intellectual exercise. You know what kills more children annually and since the passage of Roe versus Wade to the tune of 60 million lives lost, dwarfs gun violence by millions upon millions. Right. Is the sin of abortion, and for even bringing up the suggestion that students walk out in protest of this nation's abortion policies, she was put on administrative leave. Huh.
Right. She was put on administrative leave. I mean, think about that. Think about the irony of this, the society we live in, where an educator, for suggesting that children who never even will have a chance to go to school, for suggesting that it's a bad thing that we kill them before they're even born. She's put on administrative leave. And I was thinking about this. I've been thinking about this for the last week or so as I watched gun control advocates lay out about 7,000 pairs of shoes in front of the Capitol building. Do you remember that last week?
Yes.
They laid out 7,000 pairs of shoes in front of the Capitol building to illustrate the 7,000 plus children that have been killed by guns since 2012. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if someone would point out that you would need approximately 3 million pairs of shoes to illustrate how many children have been killed by abortion in that same period since 2012? And no one's bringing that up. So I'm thinking about this, and then lo and behold, this teacher brings this up and gets suspended for it. And now her kids, her students, some of them are actually planning a walkout to illustrate that these millions of children are in fact being killed by abortion. And I just thought, you know what? Like you said, we talk about how much we care about the children. No, we don't. We care about the children when it's convenient, because the rest of the time our society says that me, a woman, I have the right to choose whether or not my child lives.
Yeah.
I mean, my children, luckily enough, they have a mother that wanted them born.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? But millions of children have mothers that decide, well, you know what? My personal preference, I don't need you to be born. I'm going to kill you. But, oh, yeah, we're going to go out and mourn the lives of all these children killed by gun violence in schools. If we're going to say we care about children, we have to care about all of them. And it's intellectually dishonest for us to sit there and say that, oh, it's a clump of cells. We all know it's not. Even the most hardened of abortion advocates know darn well that it's not a clump of cells. What did we see this last week? I forget her name, but somebody at Planned Parenthood talking about severing the vocal cords of children so that you can't hear them cry as they're being killed.
Good grief.
We know that they're children. They know that they're children.
Yeah, you know,
and yet we sit here and pretend.
The moral battle that you and I have been fighting since we've been in public life aside, let's focus on the government-run school if we can for a minute. Because
Sure.
the government-run school says, well, the kids need to show their First Amendment rights and they need to demonstrate they are people too and they've got minds. So when they go out there and they advocate for removing a right that is guaranteed to us under the Constitution, that's rah, 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 and go for it. And any teacher who wants to back that up and any student who wants to go out there and join, it's fine. But if you're a student who says, you know what, I don't think taking away guns is the answer, those students are shunned. They're not given any press time. As a matter of fact,
Right.
they're told they can't participate by the school, number one.
Right.
And then when somebody says, you know what, about this safety for kids, why don't we go out there and protest this? The school says, no, you're suspended. You're suspended to shut you up. This tells me everything I need to know about the government-run schools and how politically biased and left-wing they are.
Well, right. That's exactly right. And it's just, when you think about these are the entities that are bringing up the next generation of adults, the next generation of voters. And we are bringing up a generation of people to believe that we can choose when to care about human life, and particularly the lives of children. Literally choosing when to care about those lives. It's just, it makes me physically sick to think about it. And you know what? I think we need to keep these kids and that teacher in our thoughts and prayers, because they're doing something extremely morally courageous, intellectually honest, and they're going to take a lot of flack for it. They're doing something that many adults in this country won't do, and that's actually stand up for the children.
Exactly.
That's incredible. And you mentioned, if I may, just a second ago, you
Sure.
mentioned how these children that are participating in these walkouts and and protests, many of them are being guided by political activists. These children at this school in California, this is all them. This is them and their teacher.
Yeah. They did this. Exactly. And that's why when it's not the idea of the organized left, it must be squashed. And the leftists who populate and run the government-run schools are going to be in charge of quashing it. And you know what? I want to give more than our thoughts and prayers. We're trying to reach out to the teacher in question to see if she'll come on. She probably won't, because she's still under contract and she still wants to work for a living. But isn't it ironic of the iron-fisted tactics of the leftists who are inside of these government-run schools who want to squash free speech that they disagree with their left-wing ideology? I'm just saying. Right. There goes our Skype connection. Mary, the Skype connection just pooped out. There it goes. All right. Hey, have a great day. Thank you very much, folks. She is going to be retweeting that piece, and I wish I can get the title of it, but Skype won't cooperate. So I will get, when we get into the break, I will get that piece, and we're also going to retweet it on the Chris Salcedo Show Twitter account at Chris Salcedo TX, on Facebook as well. We'll get it all out there. It's Chris Salcedo Show here on the Voice of Texas. Be right back, folks. And that's going to do it here for the Chris Salcedo Show worldwide on the Vida television network. I want to remind everyone that I think I'm one of the few individuals on television who actually allows you to directly interact with me, unfiltered, live. All you got to do is call AM 700 KSEV 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV from the hours of 7:30 a.m. Eastern until 10 o'clock Eastern, and let your voice be heard. Maybe you don't think we covered something fairly, or maybe you don't think we've covered something enough. It's your chance to weigh in. You can also do so via social media. Go to chrissalcedo.com. All of our contact information is there, or you can do it live in real time during those same hours at Chris Salcedo TX. Even off hours, we respond to Twitter, and it's a good chance, if you make a compelling argument, it'll be featured on the show, if I'm not on the air at the time, the following day. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Chris Salcedo Show worldwide here on the Vida television network. We'll see you next time.